Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Lenovo Legion 5i Pro for 2022. Now, this just arrived from Lenovo for review purposes, and I'm excited to share it with all of you because this is actually the first laptop I'll be covering with an Intel 12th Gen H-Series CPU. Specifically, it is the i7 12700H. We have 16 gigs of DDR5 RAM. We have an RTX 3060. We have 2 terabytes of internal storage. It's actually two 1 terabyte Gen 4 drives configured in a RAID 0 configuration. So I'm expecting some blistering performance when it comes to that internal storage. Another nice addition to this brand new refresh of the 5i Pro. And overall, I think the one thing I can say with confidence about the Legion 5i, or the 5 with, an AMD CPU as well, is that it was incredibly popular last year, and for good reason. It was well constructed, had great overall performance. The 3060 inside here, if you were wondering, maxes out at 150 watts. A little bit of a design change, but overall, again, I feel like this is the machine that pretty much anyone in the previous generation, and hopefully now here as well, can enjoy. It's useful. The overall design language is fairly subdued. You can see they did away with the Legion Y logo and just went to a regular Legion logo, which I think is better. I'm always for a more subdued look, and I already thought that the design language here was clean, somewhat industrial, and now even more subdued. So that means this should be able to be something that you can use in front of other people in a business setting without, feeling in any way exposed or, embarrassed by the fact that you have a gaming laptop. But performance should be really good with the 3060, especially now with that 12th gen CPU. You can see right here, we've got pretty much the same, a little bit of a change with the I/O. The kill switch for the webcam, which is still 720p for those of you that are wondering. We have a headphone microphone combo jack, a Type A USB port, some ventilation. We move to the front of the unit. You still have that lip in order to, of course, easily open up this laptop, which still has the same gorgeous 16-inch 1600p 165 hertz refresh rate IPS panel. Still should be just as bright as the previous generation. I see no reason why anything would have changed. We now have Thunderbolt as well as an additional Type-C port here. It is still a high throughput, I believe 10 gigabit throughput on that port. So that is a really welcomed addition to this machine, something I think that it needed. I'm glad it now has it. And then at the back, that's where you're going to find the balance of the I/O. Still no card reader on here, I can always hope. But Ethernet, another Type-C port. This is the one that handles power delivery. So if you want to trickle charge, that is fine, even though this is an Intel-based machine. So I feel like we've come quite a ways from last year, where it was basically AMD for trickle charge, or, go to Intel, have that Thunderbolt, but no trickle. HDMI out, 2 more USB-A ports, and then, of course, the charging port for the 300-watt power brick that you probably already know about and you're about to see again. I'll open this up first so you can just get a look at the keyboard deck, matte finish on the 16:10 aspect ratio panel. Another reason I really like it. It just really brings together, I think, pretty much everything you could want on a single checklist. Some of you will not be happy about the numerical pad, but I actually like it. I feel like it's Lenovo being pretty aware that they've got a great keyboard here. It's satisfying to use, solid key travel at about 1.5. It's something where this, I feel like, will satisfy gamers, college students, and creative professionals alike, and that's why it is a gaming machine. It's a Legion machine, so there's no question about that, but I feel like it also will feel just as comfortable for someone who's using this mostly for business, because they want that 3060, they want that 12th gen CPU, again, what should be blistering RAID 0 performance, and I think that's where this all comes together. Now, in terms of charging, as I stated, it's going to be that 300 watt Gigantor, so I'm just going to show that to you very quickly. And there that is. And that is going to take us up in weight quite a bit. So you're looking at like 5.5 pounds with the laptop alone, but throw in the power brick, and of course, you know, you've skyrocketed up to probably over 7 pounds, somewhere in that range. So we'll put this aside. Let's see if we can power this on, which I think we'll be able to, because this was already reviewed by someone else. It's been opened, it's been used, so everything should be good to go. You know, for me, the star of the show on both the 5i, or the 5, I should say, as well as the 7, and by the way, this does run Windows 11 out of the box, of course, really was that build quality was excellent, and then you also had a great display. And anyone that, you know, followed my coverage last year of the Legion lineup, again, the 5 and the 7, you already know that they were two of my favorite machines, and for good reason. Just excellent build quality, reliability, and no throttling to be found. Great keyboard, what appears to be still a really nice trackpad, and nothing really has changed in this capacity. And one thing that I think is great about this keyboard is that it does pretty much accommodate everything. You know, I review a lot of machines, and often many of you will say, what a keyboard is missing. This is one of those keyboards where I feel like the only thing people are really going to say is they wish that maybe the numerical keypad wasn't there, but otherwise, nothing is omitted. I'm also a big fan of the directional keys on this machine, something that, you know, the corners usually get kind of cut or they don't feel like they're in the right place. Lenovo has done this right. But the star of the show, besides the internal hardware, is really that display, because to get, in my opinion, the best available aspect ratio, a 16-inch, 16 by 10 panel, so you've got that extra vertical height. And then in addition to that, high brightness, which means HDR capable, which if you care about that, it's nice to have. To me, it's not a necessity. But of course, this is going to come at a premium price, something I haven't mentioned because I don't have a price. And of course, as soon as I have one, an actual link, when this is available to order, I will include it. It's not there yet. This is pre-release. But again, having the correct aspect ratio, in my opinion, the right size at 16 inches, you know, it's just right in that zone between, of course, the 17 and 15 inch models, which I think is ideal. You've got 165 hertz refresh on an IPS panel that, from a color accuracy point, is very good. Standpoint, I should say, is very good. So there's really nothing to dislike. The hinge, really rigid. You're not going to get wobble out of this thing. I mean, even when I try, it's like it wobbles for a second and then stabilizes. So just excellent build quality. Not a lot of flex on this, not a lot of flex on the deck. So far, I'm seeing a lot of things to like. Of course, I'm going to have to test it out. I'm not expecting another world of benchmarks with this when compared to something like the previous generation, because, you know, the real gain we're getting here, of course, is that 12th gen Intel CPU, which that I feel like probably still is not even optimized completely. It's going to take some time, some firmware updates, BIOS updates to really get power management in order, I expect. From what I've heard, power management on here is worse than the previous generation, which is ironic because this 12th gen chip really is supposed to be designed to improve that. So we'll see if that does change with BIOS. But again, the faster RAM, the faster NVMe drives, and of course the faster CPU, because one of the big advantages of the 12th gen that you're getting here is that if you care about gaming, it will do a fantastic job, presumably as good but better than the previous gen, of course, than the 11th gen chips. But then in addition to that, when it comes to productivity and creative work, so video editing, photo editing, any sort of, I would say, stuff where you're going to actually push the GPU, rendering, that's where the 12th gen CPU is a big bump from the previous generation, and it outperforms AMD as well. So unlike last year where pretty much AMD was king of the hill, except for optimization, I would say, but per watt usage, AMD definitely had the title last year. Now things are kind of back in the order we're traditionally accustomed to, where Intel has taken the reins again. And I anticipate it's going to be that way for a little while. We'll see how long, but you've also got the advantage, of course, of Thunderbolt 4, and in addition to that, the Gen 4 NVMe drives. It's, pretty much showing off what I think Intel hoped would be something they could debut last year, but with everything that happened with the pandemic, and we're still amidst quite a bit of an issue when it comes to supply chain and shortages, that's where things are still tight. And frankly, even once this page goes up, I mean, I'm sure Lenovo will have some ready to ship models, but then everything else is probably going to have quite a bit of a turnaround time. So we'll see. But either way, nice looking machine. I will be updating all of you on this as soon as I can. So, we get an idea of how things bench. But again, I think this is going to be really close to what you would expect from, essentially the previous generation with a 3060. It will perform, I would imagine, a little bit better since we have better hardware supporting that 3060. So it'll be interesting to see, does this get close to 3070 performance with the new CPU? If it does and pricing is right, that means, well, you're getting even more now out of a 3060 in a mobile form. But nice machine. I'm not expecting great battery life, but I'll update all of you once I have it. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them at that like button. And as usual, please feel free to subscribe, and please stay safe. Later.